Well, Friday is here. Hello there. Good afternoon and welcome to The Pulse. We are coming to you live from our studios here in Accra. We are on your digital terrestrial TV because we are free to air. You can catch us on DSTV channel 421, GoTV channel 144. We are JoyNews, independent, fearless and credible. Coming up this afternoon on The Pulse, Ghana hit by a nationwide shortage of polio vaccines, with hospitals turning away persons looking to receive the vaccines. We'll bring you details as the country's target of eradicating the viral infection comes under threat.
The shortage came around, I think, about a week or two ago, and we've been struggling, or we've been working hard to get polio into the country.
Well, there's more on this shortly as we engage the Ghana Health Service here on The Pulse. At least 3 persons severely injured after a gas explosion rocked Kumasi shoe factory in Atonso, Agogo. We'll be live to the area and bring you some updates. And minority in Parliament alleges the Electoral Commission is planning to use the Ghana card as a voter's identification card in the 2024 elections as they push for the National Identification Authority to brief Parliament on the registration exercise so far.
So as representatives of the Ghanaian people, what is this house going to do between now and the 31st of this month to ensure that our constituents who have registered for the Ghana card get the Ghana card so that they are not disenfranchised?
Get to the latest shortly. I'm Blessed Sogah. The Pulse, as always, is brought to you by Global Communities, Dignilu, Affordable Safe Sanitation. This afternoon as well, we're streaming live on YouTube and all of our social media handles, so you can feel free to join us. It's at JoyNews on TV. Feel free to tweet at us with the hashtag The Pulse. My personal handle is at Blessed Sogah. Always a pleasure serving you here on The Pulse. Please stay. Well, so this afternoon, there's a nationwide shortage of vaccines for polymalitis in Ghana. Now, the infection caused by the polio virus hit a severe year high in 2020 when the country recorded nearly 700 new cases, up from 376 in 2014. In response, the Ghana Health Service increased its polio vaccination campaign to get more persons immunized. But the country's shortage is experiencing some shortages, which is threatening obviously our targets as a nation. Joining me now is Manuel Cranting, who is with our health desk. He's been following up on a number of issues that are coming up with JoyNews is learning about. First of all, Manuel, let's start from the issue of the shortage that we are hearing of. How did we even get here in the first place? I guess that's the question a lot of people are asking there.
Indeed. So in the past month or so, many of the health facilities across the country began to experience this particular shortage. So there's a cold chain, a vaccine cold chain across the entire country, where the expanded program on immunization of the Ghana Health Service actually collects and then transports these vaccines across the various regions. In the past month, we're told that the flow of the vaccine from the manufacturers indeed cut, and so they're not coming into the country, which obviously meant that the health facilities which depended on these vaccines to immunize newly born babies and so on and so forth were not going to get their vaccines. And you know that the polio virus, or if you like, the polymalitis itself, affects babies really under 5-year-old children mostly, and so these are the most at risk.
So external factors largely.
And that's what we've been told. But at the various health facilities that we have visited, particularly here in Accra, we're told that especially mothers and so on, lactating mothers, they're told to return sometime later, this month or so, for the vaccination, because obviously the vaccines are in short supply.
I'm sure that you've been making further checks about the implication on the health of a child, for instance, if you don't get that vaccination.
So, I mean, quite fortunately for us in Ghana, we don't have the really severe, cases of polymalitis. So, mostly what we have are the type 2 polio, which is hardly even symptomatic. But you don't want to take chances. The reason you'd have to run these vaccination campaigns and have almost all the population which is at risk, vaccinated. And so that's what you have. But typically you have paralysis in a very extreme instances, paralysis in the leg, in the arm, and so on and so forth. And there are people, there's a 1%, as it were, projection of people who actually may lose their lives if they contract the.
Let's talk about the Ghana Health Service and what they are doing about this to contain this situation. Do we know exactly what steps are being taken in that regard?
Indeed, I've spoken to the head of the expanded program on immunization at the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Kwame Amponsa Achiano, who tells me that the reason you had this shortage is that Ghana actually was moving away from its old manufacturer who had which had problems, producing the vaccines, and so there's a calculation of about 6 weeks or so, which ended up in this shortage. But we're told that they've reverted back to the manufacturer, and by next week, as we're told, by next week Monday, or at least by the beginning of next week, these vaccines will touch down in Accra.
Manuel Krante, I'm grateful. We can now listen to Dr. Achano explain further in this interview with my colleague Manuel Krante.
So the current shortage came around, I think, about a week or two ago, and we've been struggling, or we've been working hard to get polio into the country. Come Monday, we'll receive polio.
But you're saying Monday, and then we'll take you on
Monday,
that just briefly. But what was the reason for the shortage? Is it a global wave of shortage, or what exactly?
No, it's not a global wave. We had an issue with the manufacturer.
Okay.
We were in the process of changing the manufacturer, but then later on we advised that if we had to change, that we needed to get another kind of approval, and so it would be a complex thing. So we went back, and the manufacturer has now, in fact, there was shortage there, and so we wanted to move away. Okay,
so the manufacturer that produces for Ghana,
yes, for the one we
tapped
into, yes,
had a shortage,
yes.
And you wanted to move away,
yes,
and that was the reason for the shortage.
Yes, so we have had a long period of discussions and trying to get them to produce, and so now it's ready for pickup.
Okay, so when are we getting it?
On Monday we should get.
That's Monday,
it's a long process. You see, first of all, it's not that simple. You need to do what we call a forecast for 2022. Normally you do that in the previous year. So we did that in 2021. Somewhere in November, that's when you plan for your consignments. And they normally have lead times, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, sometimes can go to 12 weeks before they can produce. It's not a simple production like you go to the market and then get it. So it's a very complex process. But fortunately, the bottom line is that we are getting the vaccines by Monday.
I guess the question would be that, especially because we do forecasting, one would have thought that would have been able to preempt this gap before move away and all that.
That is very true. So we predicted this about almost 6 weeks ago, and we started working on that.
Okay.
And so it's taking us a long time to get here. It's not just an overnight thing, because if you have shortage in, let's say, 2 weeks and you get a replacement, lead time sometimes 12 weeks. So what it means that the production started earlier on, and so it's not I wouldn't say it's a very short.
Well, we've checked a few of the hospitals. I mean, maybe I'm not going to mention the names of the hospital, but a couple of the hospitals tell us that they had the shortage sometime around May into June, and that's
exactly what I'm saying. That about 2 weeks.
Okay. Well, let's now talk about the implication of the shortage for mothers and so on who are looking to vaccinate their babies and all of that. What was the implication for them?
Well, the implication going forward is not an issue. Previously, I mean, looking back, probably if there was a wild one lurking around, then probably you would probably get an outbreak or something. But normally it doesn't work like that, because we still have a vaccine that protects against polio. which we are still continuing.
Okay.
And so the implications will be that, well, if we had had it earlier, it would have been better. That's all.
So there's no.
And then also the
threat.
fact that mothers will have to come
again
back. Yes, that's it.
So there's no imminent threats. That's the assurance.
For me, no. There's no imminent threat because we don't have the wild polio around.
Okay.
If supposing we had, let's say, an outbreak in a sub-region, for example, of course we will be worried. But again, it's the first timers. Remember, polio is given 4 times. It's those who are born new, then 6 weeks, 10 weeks, and 14 weeks.
Yeah.
So people would have had maybe 2 doses or 3 doses already. There's no imminent threat, but you don't want to take chances, and that is why you need to move heaven and earth to get polio as early as possible.
But the assurance is
that's exactly where
we have it. Latest 20th June. We have
Monday.
Consignment in
Monday. Yes, because we've received before you get a vaccine, you receive what we call the alert. We received the alert, and even this morning we're with UNICEF, who does the procurement, discussing and about the distribution and all that. So we've done distribution on paper. As soon as it arrives, it will be carted to the regions. So there's no cause for alarm.
Well, it appears that this issue goes beyond the national capital, Accra. Martina Bugri is joining us from her center base, where, of course, she's been checking some other health facilities in the northern parts of the country. Martina, what do we know about the situation up north? Martina, if you can...
For the past 2 months, yes, I can hear you.
Right.
For the past 2 months now, parents who have tried to get their children vaccinated have been disappointed. Several health centers that I have personally checked, you go and we are told that they are waiting. I mean, they've been told that it's out of stock and they are waiting anytime it comes. I met a couple who were trying to get their daughter to the Upper East or Upper West to have the child vaccinated. That's how come I got to understand that it was a serious issue. There wasn't any stock for a long time and parents are worried. Now, having educated people a lot about the dangers of not vaccinating their children, parents are aware. And that's why it's become an issue that they think that government should address.
And how about the management of the various facilities that you've been visiting? Are they putting in place some alternative measures or trying to assure persons who are trying to assess these vaccines?
Now, when you go, they will refer you to the public health director, and he says that they have written, they are expecting some, as and when it comes, they would have stock. But right now, it looks like it's a shortage nationwide.
And what more assurances have you been getting from the director up north?
He says that for the past 3 months now, it looks like they are just waiting and hoping that something comes up. No assurance. He can't guarantee that it will come today or tomorrow.
Martina, thank you. We can now take you to Parliament, where the minority is alleging that the Electoral Commission has plans of using the Ghana card as the voter's ID in the 2024 elections. Now, commenting on the business statement presented by Majority Leader Osei Mensah-Bonsu, Deputy Ranking Member of the Communications Committee in Parliament, Sam George, pushed the House to, as a matter of urgency, bring the National Identification Authority to answer questions on the issuance of the card so that eligible voters are not disenfranchised in the 2024 elections.
If the business committee can schedule a briefing, a joint briefing of the Ministers of Interior, Communication and Finance for this House on a critical issue involving the Ghana card. The Ministry of Communication has issued a deadline of 31st of this month, that 1st of July, they are going to deactivate SIM cards. The Bank of Ghana says that your money that is in your own account that you paid in from the 1st of July, you cannot access it without a Ghana card. And they are all taking reference to a legislative instrument from this House, LI 2111. Even the Electoral Commission is preparing to bring us a CR that is to create a new voters register using a Ghana card. But majority of our constituents today, Some of them have registered since 2018. The National Identity Authority is unable to provide them their Ghana cards. So as representatives of the Ghanaian people, what is this house going to do between now and the 31st of this month to ensure that our constituents who have registered for the Ghana card get the Ghana card so that they are not disenfranchised? Or if the NIA is unable to provide those cards for Ghanaians who are willing and ready to acquire those cards, we stay the hands of those agencies not to put our constituents in jeopardy. What plans do we have to have the Interior Minister who oversees the NIA, the Communications Minister who oversees the NCA, and the Finance Minister who has some oversight over the Bank of Ghana to appear before us to deal with these issues of timeline?
Well, it's time now to get a true picture of what's happening in Parliament and what exactly the concerns of our parliamentarians are. You just heard some judge make the argument there, but Kweku Asante obviously would have details of that. Kweku, what more do we know about the claims that's been made by some judge, and is there any evidence at all to back that?
When the majority leader, Honorable Osei Chairman Bonsu, read the business statement for next week, these specific issues about NIA and the Ghana card did not come up. But some judge spoke up and said he had some concerns and that this was very urgent and that the business committee that is chaired by the majority leader, Osei Chairman Bonsu, should take particular interest in this matter and try and see if they can have a resolution. And so, although he did not provide any evidence on the floor of the House to back these claims, he received support from his leader, the minority leader, Honorable Haruna Idrisu, who was concerned that if the Ghana card will be used by the Electoral Commission as the voters' ID, then some people will be disenfranchised, because apart from the fact that a number of Ghanaians have still not been able to get their cards by way of registration, there are others who have registered but have not even had the card yet because of some backlog in the NIA system. He also had support from a former Energy and Petroleum Minister, Honorable Kofi Amaboa, the MP for Elembele, who also spoke up and said that this is a very, very major concern for their side, and they are trying to see if the majority leader can bring the ministers of communication, of the interior, and also national security to brief the House in terms of how they can look at these concerns and trash it out. And so, of course, the majority leader, Honorable Osei Chairman Bonsu, responded, but he fell short of providing details in terms of when the NIA and these specific ministers that were mentioned by some judge in that instance you just played will come before the House. But he assured them that this is a matter of concern to him also, and he will ensure that other MPs or other ministers who have oversight in terms of these Ghana card issues will come before the House to brief members.
Kweku, I'm interested in finding out if some judge is getting the buy-in from the majority, for instance.
So when this matter came up for discussion, it's only the majority leader who responded. Indeed, today there were not so much of majority MPs and on the floor. It's actually reminiscent of Friday business in the House. All right, so there were not so much of majority MPs, but this did not generate into a minority-majority debate. The Honorable Sam George seemed to have had support from his side, evidence in the minority leader himself, Haruna Idrisu, speaking up in support of Honorable Sam George. When it came to the majority side, it was only Honorable Osei Chairman Bonsu who presented the business statement of the week, commenting on it. When he started, of course, he made the position that the comments of Honorable Sam George should have been in line with the business statement he had presented. But nevertheless, he thought it was an important matter and that the business committee will try and program maybe next week or after to try and see if the Minister for Communication, Minister for Interior, the NIA will appear there before the House or before the committee. We know the NIA does not have standing in the House itself. They can appear before committees of Parliament, but they cannot be in the plenary to answer questions of MPs. The ministers can do so, and they may be able to appear before MPs and answer their questions regarding the Ghana card. But NIA itself would either have to pass on the briefing to the ministers to give to members of Parliament or appear before the relevant committees to answer these questions.
We're set for interesting times ahead, but beyond that, do we know what more the House will be looking at going forward?
So at the moment, the House is considering some public business. They are looking at some bills, clause-by-clause consideration on the floor of Parliament. But before that, Honorable Haruna Idrisu had also spoken about the issue about poultry feed. He was concerned that the poultry industry were very concerned that there's a seeming shortage of poultry feed around the country, and he thought that the House should take particular interest in that. This also did not become a subject of contention or back and forth conversation between both sides of the House. But as minority leader, he assured that he was going to follow up to ensure that the House can take some decisions and ensure that poultry feed shortage does not become such an endemic thing in the country. And so he implored his colleague, the majority leader, to schedule the Agric Minister, Honorable Efri Akoto, to appear before the House and assure them that there were adequate measures in place to ensure that we do not get to the place where poultry feed become completely short and that farmers do not get that, and then it in turn leads to the public not getting chicken or not getting egg, and some of the already products that exist will just go up in terms of the pricing. And so he was concerned about that and implored his colleague, the majority leader, Honorable Osei Chairman Sabonsu, to look into those concerns and invite the minister to Parliament to answer questions.
Asante, thank you for giving us some updates from Parliament. We can now take you to the Ashanti region. At least 3 persons have been severely injured after a gas explosion incident at the Kumasi shoe factory in Atunsu Agogo earlier today. The incident, which happened around 11 a.m., also left 2 cars bent beyond recognition. The gas tanker is alleged to be discharging some fuel into the company's cylinder when it caught fire. Firefighters, as we understand, are battling to douse the flames in the area, which has been cordoned off for public safety. Let's now speak to Kwesi Deborah, who's been following the story for us. Kwesi, what's the latest, and what can you say about the situation from the shoe factory as we speak?
All right, Blessed. So we were speaking with the fire commander, that's a Ashanti regional fire commander, and he's been telling us what really happened. And he said, of course, we were discharging fuel into one of the cylinders, and unfortunately there was this fire beneath the vehicle, and that's talking about the tanker. And I think it was the driver who got hint of it, and he alerted them, and most of them, of course, were able to flee. But unfortunately, during the whole incident, some got injured and were sent to the hospital. We also know that 2 of them were discharged before coming, and of course were told again that one of them, the last one, was responding to treatment. So that is what is happening now. That the fire has been doused. Almost everything, those polytanks which were lined up there have all been burnt down as a result of the incident. And so for now, the situation is very calm. Almost everybody there, though we haven't, part of the building has been raised down. That's a warehouse, but the situation is very calm now.
Obviously, this would have an impact on the operations of the company. Have we heard from management, and are they beginning to count their loss already?
Right, so we've been trying to speak with management of the company, but unfortunately we've not been very successful. We tried initially to speak with some of the workers who told us about, they initially informed us about the injured, but with the company management, it's been very difficult getting through to them.
Do we have any further security arrangements in the area?
Well, the fire service has been talking to us, and they were not pleased with what really happened. So we spoke with a regional commander who told us that, for instance, when they are discharging fuel, they are supposed to tell them so that they come and monitor. But unfortunately, that's not what happened in this case. So he is admonishing all filling stations, all gas filling stations, that whenever they are discharging fuel, they should tell them, so they will be there to give the appropriate instructions for it to be very safe. So for now, yes, not much of a security measure. It's only a warning to all those gas filling stations. Blessed.
Well, time now to listen to that interaction.
what happened?
We were in the office around 10:56. We had a distress call that there's a fire outbreak over here. So we quickly have to mobilize our men to respond. They go here and they quickly inform us that there was a gas explosion for which they need assistance. So we were able to mobilize about 5 more fire attendants to manage the situation. And as you can see, the situation is under control.
Do we know what actually started this fire?
From our small investigation that we've done, they said there is this gas tanker who came to offload gas. In the process of doing that, there was a fire outbreak. So they also couldn't manage it and ran away, and it escalated. Yeah, it's spread to their factory just like that you can see. And so we quickly also have to evacuate the school children over here and even the residents around so that we can manage it successfully.
Any caution to people around here?
We've informed filling stations and gas stations that any time they want to discharge gas or fuel, they should inform us to come and do standby so that in case anything happens, we can quickly respond to it. Like the way they all ran away, we've been trained to manage these things. We will gather the courage and manage it, and it will not escalate to this level.
So it appears that they ignore.
Well, a clear indication there from the fire service, but then how about residents in the area, within the perimeter where we understand this explosion happened? Kwesi, do we have any more information on them?
No, for the residents in the area, with the intervention, the timely intervention of the fire service, wasn't able to get to them. Just that the only thing they bemoaned as the fire service was when people took their phones and tried to record the incident. You know, it was true, of course. When we got to the grounds, some of the residents came to us telling us that they have footage, the actual footage when the whole incident started and how it went and how it developed, everything. They had footage of that. Yeah, of course, they wanted to sell it to us. So that was a bit of a dangerous situation there, that they took their phones and recording, and they caught some people also who tried to steal some items from the compound. So I think that about 2 people suspected to be thieves. So for the residents, they are safe. They are safe, and yeah, they are safe. Blessed.
Interesting developments there, but thank you, Kwesi, for the updates. Now, a 6-year-old girl has died and more than 400 people have been displaced after a rainstorm hit 8 communities in the West Mamprusi municipality of the Northeast region. The deceased died in her sleep after a building collapsed on her. 6 others, including a pregnant woman, were also injured in the incident. The storm also destroyed over 5 school buildings, including the Walewale Senior High School. The victim, as well as authorities in the municipality, are calling on the National Disaster Management Authority to come to their aid. Correspondent Ilyasu Tanko has the rest of the story.
The affected communities include the municipal capital, Walewale, Bimsi, Wulugu, Nayoko, Gagbini, Diani, and Katabanawa. The storm destroyed 81 houses, resulting in the displacement of 434 people in the 8 affected communities in the municipality. One of the buildings collapsed on 8 occupants in the Walewale township, killing a 6-year-old girl and leaving her pregnant mother and siblings with varying extents of injuries. The child has since been buried after police and medical examinations were conducted. The mother of the deceased, Ayi Ali, who had her waist smashed by a falling object, escaped the fury of the storm. The roofing caved in on us while we were asleep. I rushed to the rescue of my children, but it was already too late for my 6-year-old girl. The others also suffered injuries, and I also had a hit on my waist by a falling object. Her husband, Alhaji Abdallah Bakari, a devoted Muslim, described the incident as the will of Allah, which he said has been accepted unconditionally. He has, however, called for support to fix his destroyed property.
As of now, the roof has risen price. Burden is raised, everything raised the money. So get help. It's better.
The storm also destroyed about 5 school buildings, including the Wale Senior High School, which has lost about 3 classrooms and part of the school wall pulled down. The headmaster of the school, Ibrahim Sibiam, says the incident has affected effective academic activities while making an open plea for urgent assistance.
If we get it immediate, it will be good, in that the classrooms, as you went round, the roof, they are ripped off, and we don't have lights in those classrooms. So where we have also sent them is a temporary place where there's no light, it's abandoned. So they cannot have preps in the evening. Even if we want them to come to the classrooms that have light, they will be choked. The classrooms there won't be space to accommodate them. So if we get it immediately renovated and lights restored, academic work will go on very well.
The rainstorm also caused damage to the St. Joseph Primary School, Wale Presby, and another primary school in Wulugu, and several others across the municipality. The assemblyman for the Nayilifon, whose electoral area has been hard hit, appealed for support for the victims, as well as to urgently fix the damaged school blocks.
Most of the houses that have been ripped up, looking at the current conditions of life, if we do not support them, some of them are going to be very distressful. So I therefore call on authorities and NADMO to urgently come to the aid, particularly the school, so that the children can get sufficient and enough spaces to be able to continue their studies in the school.
Many of the affected communities who are well-to-do have begun to fix their properties after days of no response from the National Disaster Management Organization in the municipality. But those who are less capable still await a helping hand from NADMO. The National Disaster Management Organization in the region, however, says it is still conducting an assessment of the disaster to plan a response. The regional director of the organization, Alasan John Kweku, spoke to JoyNews.
I'm sure by tomorrow the assessment will have been done, because we've gone more than halfway. And as I speak to you now, our men are currently on the ground doing the assessment. And then with regards to those who are displaced, the communities are dotted. We have our relatives and our family members dotted around. So people have decided to go and stay with their family members. And I don't think we have a problem with that. And those who have challenges or issues with regards to where to put up themselves, NADMO is ready to find a temporary place for them.
Although the organization is yet to come to the aid of victims of previous weather-related incidents which occurred in different parts of the region due to its overwhelming operational and material challenges, the regional director insists the organization is capable of discharging its duties of preventing and managing disasters in the region.
This is not the first time that we're experiencing such a disaster. It has happened before. And then NADMO, I can assure you that we are more than prepared to deal with any eventuality that will arise as a result of this rains and then the disasters that we are anticipating.
From Nalergo, Ilyas Sutanko, reporting for JoyNews.
And now, road traffic accidents for the first half of 2022 have seen a significant decline as compared to the same period in 2021. The success is actually attributed to intensified sensitization and media advocacy campaigns. The multimedia group, especially JoyNews, has been spearheading safety campaigns in its bid to reduce carnage on our roads. Acting Director General of the National Road Safety Authority, Engineer David Asafo Adonting, says such campaigns have contributed hugely to the success recorded so far. Before we get to Mr. Adonting, our research desk has put together some of the figures in terms of how the decline is going about. So there you have it on your screen right now, giving you a summary of what's happening. So you look at the summary of the road traffic crashes situation between January to May 2020. For instance, you have the last part of the chart indicating that we're dropping significantly to some 1,215 as compared to where we started from in January, where the situation was somewhere around 6,472. The highest came somewhere in February, I presume, with some 10,000 cases recorded, but then now we've dropped significantly once more, as we're noticing on that chart. And there's a need for us to explore all of the angles to this, and also try and look at what the implications will be going forward, and how we can also consolidate the figures that we're seeing on our screens now. So fortunately, it's a good time to be having a conversation on this. Joining us in studio is Reverend Cyril Cramp. He's the president of the Accidents Victims Support Unit. It's such a great time to be talking to you, sir. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. And
I'm sure that you're excited, of course, as a foundation that's working towards reducing carnage on our roads. This is good news to you.
Yes, thank you very much, and a quick good afternoon to your viewers.
Right.
Let me quickly also say that yesterday the Ghana Insurance Association held a program.
Okay.
You know, and they supported the Accident Victims Support Foundation. I think the program was the Insurance Week celebration, or Insurance Month celebration, and we want to use the opportunity to acknowledge them and also recommend and appreciate them for the kind gesture. We want to ask others to also come and enjoy it so we can support victims. Yes, indeed. Hearing what is currently happening is a great news for us, and I have to also commend the National Road Safety Commission. National Road Safety Authority for the programs that they have outlined to, you know, bring this success to us, this news to us. Indeed, everybody is aiming at reducing the road carnages, and so to hear that even moving from 0 to 1, you know, I think it's a plus. To evaluate this, and at the end of evaluation, you see a significant reduction, which will go a long way to save lives. Indeed, when you look at the time past, like last year, Arrive Alive did a lot of campaign because the road carnages was becoming a worrisome situation in the country. I mean, families are being left alone, you know, some are being maimed, some are being orcas, some are being, you know, school dropouts. And for us as the Accident Victims Support, it's a big worry. And so to hear that this time around, in the very first quarter of it, there has been that significant, you know, reduction with regards to road crashes. Trust you me, it's a great news. And I think that whatever they put in place, the National Road Safety Authority Stay Alive campaign, whatever they put in place that made this news, the good news come, these reductions come, then I think that it is good for us, you know, to continue and to urge them to promote, you know, and advocate safety on our roads. In fact, it must be a priority for the entire country as we talk right now.
Were you expecting this to happen?
Of course, because significantly, last year especially, myself and the foundation and my team, we were on top of our game to promote, to advocate, and make sure to educate drivers. So we will all, you know, reduce it. Not only drivers alone. We are looking at pedestrians, because when you look at the chart, the analysis that have come, you see that pedestrian crashes were on the ascendancy. And so we're doing everything possible to make sure that we reduce the carnages. And to hear that the first quarter, yes, indeed, some have been lost though, but we have been able, you know, to save some, you know, and where we are right now, I think whatever measure, I want to say that as we sit here, there must be a deliberate intent, to enforce road safety. It is possible, it's achievable, and it can be stopped because road crashes are avoidable.
I need to also indicate that it's not as though simply looking at the figures drop means that we're done with the work. For instance, you take a look at what's happening to children, for instance, and juveniles. I'm sure that's an area we might want to be concerned about, looking at the figures going up to some 13%.
13%.
How do we deal with that, for instance?
Exactly. We are embarking on a campaign, Safe to Safety Child Road Safety campaign, because we realize that over the years, for the past 5 years, we support more children than adults. And so just about 3 months ago, we realized the children that have died, considering Uti region, considering the Antobiasi, considering the Sakaman issue, and other related incidents that, you know, were involved with children, we think that children, ages under the age of 18 from this day forward must be given priority with regards to road carnages. We must be able to inculcate in them to possess and to take custody of road safety now. Either than that, we are going to be in trouble. Because when you look at the number, 13% already, I don't think that we have to lose any more child. For those of us who are in our 40s and above, we can't do anything about transportation, or we can't do anything about what we're doing. What we are doing is to safeguard them. But for these people, we can give them road safety education. Deliberately, we can analyze it, put it into them, inculcate it, and force them to become at least recipients of the road safety education. And when they grow, they can take it up. So the Safety Child Road Safety campaign, that is the lollipop stance that we are giving to the schools to be able to use them to aid them to cross the roads. I am telling you, we are not going to, with this number, we are not going to stop. We are going to push it, because we don't want any more child. One life lost is one too many, and we cannot allow it to go on.
I guess there's so much more we need to do. Let's bring in Reverend Cyril, just hold on. Let's bring in Director General of the National Road Safety Authority, Engineer David Osafo-Adonsing, who's joining us now. Thank you, sir, for your time. So I'm sure that you've been looking at the figures once more, revising it, and from your outfit, what more do you need to do to consolidate this decline in the figures? Engineer David Adonsing, I'm trying to find out from you what more you're doing to consolidate this decline that we're seeing in the figures.
Oh, thank you very much. And let me say good afternoon to you, your panel members, and everybody listening to me this evening. I want to say that the statistics that has been released, which we are discussing now, give me in particular and the National Road Safety Authority some motivation that we shall be worked. Indeed, we have worked very hard over the past number of months under the Stay Alive campaign with all our stakeholders, and I must give the credit to multimedia and the entire media space, all of you collectively and jointly picking up the Arrive Alive campaign and the Stay Alive campaign to this far, where we are convinced from our observation that publicity, education, awareness creation has gone to the top levels. What we need to do going forward is to continue to sustain the publicity and the education and the advocacy. I must say that we have gotten to an era where if publicity has risen to this level, then what must follow is enforcement. The National Road Safety Authority is leading a new crusade. This time, much as we will recognize the fact that we must speak to the conscience of people, road users, to change their behavior, we are also now going to strengthen the capacity to be able to compel people, road users in particular, to behave within the framework of the law. I think we are looking at education and enforcement this time round. If you fail, refuse to behave within the framework of the law, you must be punished. We are going to strengthen the aspect of punishment. That means that the police would have to strengthen their game, up their game to support the education. There are rules and regulations that we must abide by, which we all know. It is not like people don't know. They are aware. If you look at the speed that people are driving on a highway, the wrongful overtaking, driving under the influence of alcohol, not wearing of seatbelts, the crash helmets that we are not using as we sit on motorcycles, and all that. I think people are aware of the rules. They are aware of the regulations. They are just not doing it. Now, in this recent time that we up our game, jointly with the police, strong education, strong enforcement, you see how positive results are yielding, in our road safety space. We must continue. We urge everybody, the media in particular, to continue to support the National Road Safety Authority. We have the full support of the IGP, Dr. Dampari and his men, also scaling up their game. If you remember, in recent times, they launched a program called PARI, the Police Action Against indiscipline in terms of road riding, and then also the PI, the public invisible eye, put together to support the education, I think we are getting positive results. One of the exciting lines is the reductions we are seeing in motorcycle crashes and casualties. I think for the first time, we are seeing in Ghana, in the road safety space, reductions consistently for the past 5 months, each month, the CID, that is the crashes, the injuries, and the deaths, consistently for 5 months. And we are excited to see the motorcycles, which hitherto happen to be swelling the biggest, now also coming up. It's a good sign. And we believe that moving forward, if we can strengthen the enforcement to support the kind of education we are doing together with the media, we can see more reductions as we move forward into the second half of the year.
And the issue about institutional support, are you scaling that up as well?
Yes, I think so, because as you're aware, we told you that the National Road Safety Authority, we asked for a transformation from a commission to an authority. In terms of our act, one of the good things is that we have now been given the mandate to regulate the road safety space. The industry where transport operators will now be licensed and regulated. And then also institutions, public institutions that have the mandate to do one thing or the other to change the narrative. I'm talking about the road agency, the vehicle and licensing authority, the ambulance services, and all of them are required to comply with their standards that relate to road safety. And that is where we come in. We are going to step up our activities and actions regarding compelling these institutions, supporting them and collaborating with them to be able to also do their part. When I talk about their part, the road space, the road infrastructure must be safe. If you look at our current situation, most of the roads are now being rehabilitated. We are expecting the roads now to have all the necessary road safety appurtenances, the road signs, the road line markings. We are also expecting that the police, in recent times, we have seen some kind of cameras, surveillance cameras within the cities. In the coming months, the police have assured us that they're going to deploy more cameras, traffic cameras, even on the highway, where they can electronically detect misbehaviors in terms of driver behavior, speeding, jumping red lights, and all that. We have also seen their game now stepping up their game regarding the motorcycles. If you get to town, it is so refreshing to see that motorcyclists now stop at intersections for red light. Can you imagine? So if we continue to do this, and the motorists are also able to accept the responsibility that it is human life we are talking about, and so they must comply with the regulations, listen to the National Road Safety Authority and the media, and collaborate accordingly. I am sure the narrative will change, and indeed, we'll see more reductions in our CID.
Okay then, thank you so much, Engineer David Osafo-Adonting, and spot on, I guess, for you, Reverend.
Yes. Engineer Adonting has said it all, and I can't add any more. But one more thing is that we are for lives, and we think that everybody can stay alive if everybody are going to be very mindful and the way they drive. Above all, we are talking to road users, and we must talk to road constructors. One of the things that UN have stated, which Engineer Adonting will agree with me, is that safer roads contribute to the reduction of road carnages. Okay. We cannot only drive safe, but we can drive safe on safer roads.
So that's another angle we should be looking at, for instance.
Which I will plead with road authorities that if they can at least be mindful and go out there and check where we have problems, because when the roads are not safe, however safe you drive, you might crash, not necessarily kill somebody or crash into a car, but you can be delayed, and whenever there is a delay, mind you, economic activities also is reduced, and we cannot get our capital as we want. So if we can agree with the UN Charter for Decade of Action, and we'll be committed to infrastructure, building safer roads where we have proper traffic lights, we have potholes, you know, being filled. We have, I mean, look at the Tema. Deplorable road that we have, the situation, and not only that place, the rains have exposed a lot of things, you know, which is contributing to these accidents. And so far as we are talking about the success, everything that we must put in place, inclusively safer roads, we must ensure that that is done, and then the driver can move from wherever it is to arrive and stay alive. And that is what we are saying.
But we know that definitely victims of accidents are still with us. Your foundation has been working to support them. Would you want some mainstreaming so as to have institutional provision for persons who are victims to this?
Exactly. I would say clearly that the country is beginning to forget that when there are crashes, there are injuries. When there are injuries, there are deaths. And these cannot do without humanity. So humanity are involved. If our focus and our attention can go a bit towards them, we think that it will help. We are trying our best to push the agenda to support accident victims. And so we put it out there. If government and institutions, corporate institutions can come on board, just like GIA, NRSA, and then also NIC, Enterprise Insurance, Serene Insurance are doing to support that we can give these people the livelihood they need and be reintegrated back into the society and have hope again. I believe we'll go forward. But above all, we are using accident victims to tell the story so that at least it will contribute to significant, reduction of the road crashes. That is what we are looking at. We are all vulnerable. It can happen to you. It can happen to me. So why won't we all put our hands on deck, support the National Road Safety Authority? Let me quickly also commend the Drive Safe campaign. Campaign.
It's been a massive campaign.
Massive campaign. And from last year, last 2 years, this year, and I believe going forward, you are partners. You are, mega partners in curbing or in the reduction of, the success we are seeing now. And I'll commend you to continue. Whilst we partner also with us, with you, to make sure at least our roads are friendly enough, especially for our children, and it's safer enough to drive safe and arrive alive. Lastly, I want to say that everybody who have supported us from the beginning till now is 14 years already. We salute you all, and may you continue to support us, and the Lord will deliver you. I'm a reverend. So.
That's a reverend for you. Blessings, giving us blessings. The reverend would not go away without giving blessings, but you also need to drive safe. Thank you, Reverend Cyril, for joining us. You're still watching The Pulse here on the JoyNews channel. We'll return shortly after this break. Please stay. And you're welcome back. Now, Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia is asking public universities to put their internally generated funds to proper use to support government effort at improving infrastructure, highlighting the University of Professional Studies. As an example, Dr. Bawumia said the implementation of the free senior high school program has now put a strain on government financing, and schools would have to put in more than ever before on their own to sustain their school. He was speaking at the investiture of Dr. Kofi Kodria Sapong as the new Chancellor of UPSA.
The senior high school program has in part led to an increase in the number of students in the country's senior high schools. According to the Vice President, the program has enabled all to now access education at the secondary school level.
5 years ago, government rolled out a bold flagship program, the Free Senior High School Policy. This program was to pave the way for junior high school graduates who otherwise would not have had the opportunity to further their education to be able to do so with their more privileged peers. Today, senior high schools are graduating twice the number of students they used to, if not more. Enrollment in senior high schools increased from 881,600 at the end of 2016 to the current level of 1,202,255 in 2021. This represents the biggest increase in secondary level enrollment in our recent history. And what is more remarkable and encouraging is that now we are having more parity between males and females at the senior high school.
Dr. Bawumia was speaking at the investiture of Dr. Kofi Kodua Sapon as the Chancellor of the University of Professional Studies here in Accra. The Vice President of the Republic, Dr. Bawumia, said tertiary schools need to contribute to education by using internally generated funds and applauded the UPSA for their effort in supporting government in that direction.
Mr. Chairman, I must take this opportunity to commend the leadership of the UPSA for the immense contribution to education in Ghana. Government is grateful that the UPSA continues to lead the way in a constructive use of internally generated funds to benefit the university community and our country, Ghana. The infrastructural development underway at UPSA is an illustration of how tertiary institutions can mobilize to absorb incoming students.
Dr. KK Sapon has distinguished himself in all aspects of life and also has an extensive background in executive management with over 30 years of experience. He succeeded His Royal Majesty Drolo Boso Adamte I as the second Chancellor of the UPSA. The Governing Council of the university appointed Mr. Sapon, who is currently the CEO of the Ghana National Petroleum Corporation, as the school's new chancellor beginning this year to fill the role in accordance with Section 14 of the UPSA Act 850. The new chancellor pledged to dispense his duty to the best of his ability. He promised to help set up the Chancellor's Endowment Fund to help support research with a target of 20 million cedis.
It's been my policy or objective, so to speak, that wherever I work, I leave a legacy. And here I look at the gap in the funding for research. And based on a DFID, the Department for International Development of UK report that I studied, that Ghanaian universities lack funding for research. I thought that maybe that would be something I can leave as a lasting legacy for the university as I come in as Chancellor. At least for the five years that I have, it should be possible for me to help put in place this fund from which the interest earned on the base investment will be used by the university to conduct research that they find or they deem necessary. I'm going to work with the council to work out the modalities, and then when that is done, we set out to raise the funds. Obviously, I'll make a contribution myself, which I keep to myself for now, and see how the others will come in. Over the 5 years, we want this fund to grow to a base amount of about 20 million cedis, and interest on it. If you look at current interest of maybe 20%, then it will leave about 4 million cedis a year to apply to research if we have the base amount raised from day one. So that is the kind of vision I have in respect of that.
Tasha Michelle's report for JoyNews.
And government is making yet another push to tackle youth unemployment situation in the country with the ambitious Youth Start program. Under the scheme, a total of about 1 million jobs are expected to be created. Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta in the 2022 budget said government had allocated some 10 billion Ghana cedis for the program. Ahead of the full takeoff of the scheme, the National Entrepreneurship and Innovation Program has been sensitizing stakeholders on the processes for the project. There's more in this report.
The Youth Start program is an initiative by the government of Ghana to support young entrepreneurs to gain access to capital, training and technical skills that will enable them to start, build and grow their own businesses. Speaking at the stakeholders engagement on Thursday, CEO of the National Entrepreneurship and Innovation Program, Kofi Ufusun Kansa, gave details of the initiative.
Through NEIP, Ghana Enterprise Agency, and then we also have another model with the banks. That's the commercial model, where a chunk of the resources will be pushed to. About 70% of the funds will be going through the banks under the commercial model. Government is serving as guarantee for this facility, and the banks will also have their own terms and conditions. But it's going to be very flexible terms. That aside, NEIPGA is going to implement the District Entrepreneurship Program, which is a social one for all youth between 18 years and 40 years. We will do our screening, make sure they qualify for whatever business activity they are applying for. After that, we link them to the banks for the disbursement. The qualification criteria is very simple. You should be a youth, you should be Ghanaian, 18 years to 40. You should have your Ghana card, you should have your digital address so that if we want to trace you, we can track you.
Chief Executive Officer of the National Youth Authority, Pius Hajide, hopes the Youth Start program would create more opportunities for the youth. According to him, the initiative is a build-up from the previous youth employment intervention programs.
There have been some interventions in times past geared at resolving that problem, and some argue that they appear to be quite unsuccessful. I think that lessons have been learned from the earlier programs, and the Youth Start, to all intents and purposes, is a better package as far as we are concerned, because we have reviewed programs of the past and we are comparing it to the Youth Start in its current form. We are focusing heavily on training, training not only in the ethics of successful businesses, but we are also concentrating on mindset change and values of honesty, decent work, values of patriotism, which would mean that you don't underdeclare and you pay your taxes and so on and so forth.
Also at the event were some young entrepreneurs who spoke to JoyNews about the expectations of the new initiative.
Even though we are struggling in terms of funding, we have about 15 employees that we are working with. And we believe that if Youth Start is able to support us with the funding, if we apply, we are going to be able to increase our employees from the 15 to even 50.
I think it's going to reduce the number of people who are unemployed currently in the country, so that when we come out, we know that there is this money available for us to start up our business, and they are going to order us to get markets. So it's not that we are going to produce and then we are going to run at a loss, but then they will help us with the market system too.
With this initiative, I want to change my vision by going to fish farming. Yes. So that is what I want to do with this Youth Start Fund.
The Youth Start program, which is funded by the Electronic Transfer Levy, is expected to create at least 1 million jobs to address the country's youth unemployment situation, which currently stands at 12%. Mausi Numon's report for JoyNews.
And the increase in the price of goods and services is taking a toll on people living in poverty and endangering the livelihoods of smallholder farmers, especially women. As part of efforts to cushion the impact on them, the Center for Indigenous Knowledge and Organizational Development held a press conference for smallholder women farmers in the Bono East and Dahafo regions. The meeting held under the theme Building Resilient Livelihoods for Women and Smallholder Farmers Through Agroecology was, to amongst other things, give the women group the opportunity to share their experiences. There's more in this report.
Women are key actors in Ghana's agricultural sector, where they constitute more than 50% of the labor force and produce about 70% of the country's food stock. However, women continue to face multiple disadvantages, especially in the rural areas. To help empower this marginalized group and encourage them to adapt to agroecological farming methods, which is one of the surest ways of combating climate change and addressing food security, the Center for Indigenous Knowledge and Organizational Structure, with support from ActionAid and the Alliance for Food Sovereignty in Africa, held a conference for smallholder women farmers in the Bono East and Ahafo regions. Wilberforce Latte is a Deputy Executive Director for the southern part of the country at SECOD.
About 5 years ago, we started, together with ActionAid and Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana, we started working on promoting agroecology. So last year, we brought together the women farmers, or the women counterparts of the members of the agroecology movement in the transition zone. But this year, again, in collaboration with ActionAid, we are organizing this meeting and to look more at the practical things, when it comes to soil fertility management when it comes to pest management. What are the critical things that has to be done?
This women group used the opportunity to share their experiences on agroecology as well as challenges facing them and proposed strategies aimed at addressing them.
They have quite a lot of experience. In fact, as part of the program, we gave them the opportunity to share their experiences, and they did. I mean, it's remarkable. Some of them are using tobacco, neem, and garlic to ward off pests, from their crops. And there are a lot of knowledge. Where we have gotten them to now is how can they put the knowledge into practice.
One of the areas discussed at the conference has to do with the establishment of a market for organic food crops. Olawumi Benedict is an organic farmer, a trainer and an advocate for the participatory guaranteed systems. She encouraged the farmer group to come together by having an identity and also establish satellite markets in their respective areas.
We all know that organic is more expensive than conventional. So how do we encourage them to continue to do organic if they are selling at the normal market? So we have come to tell them that they can have segregated market all over, but they need identification. They need to be identified with something. And the only tool for certification all over the world is called PGS.
The group were then taken to a demonstration farm at country number 2, where they received the practical knowledge on some agroecological farming methods. They share with us what they learned in the process.
In fact, what we come and learn, we came to learn so many things. A lot of deliberations, experience sharing, like whatever is transpiring on each other field. In terms of our preparation to shun away pests from our vegetables.
At this conference, I've learned so many methods, like a way of fertilizing the products, that you can use rice. You soak the rice overnight, then you pour the water out of it, add sulfur. You spray your produce with it.
Programs officer at ActionAid Ghana, Yawase, brought and admonished government to address the poor road networks linking farming communities to major market centers, as it remains one of the key challenges facing smallholder farmers.
One key challenge that they mentioned was access to their roads, good roads from their communities to the market centers. And I think it also affects their ability to access the market. So if in areas where there's an opportunity for government to construct the roads, I think it will be quite important for them so they can get access to the market.
Reporting for JoyNews, Anas Sabit.
The Pentecost Hospital at Madina here in Accra has been ranked at level 4 on the Farm Access Safe Care Quality Assessment Program. This means that the health facility is better positioned to deliver improved health and customer care to clients. The chairperson of the Pentecost Church of Ghana, Apostle Eric Nyamicha, who received a new recognition this week at the church's headquarters, indicated that the improvement in the rank of the hospital is testament of the hospital's productivity and commitment of the church to excel in the area of quality healthcare delivery. Here's Pakwisi Shandoff with the rest of the story.
The Pentecost Hospital at Madina is one of 4 hospitals under the Christian Health Association of Ghana. Since 1997, it has been serving indigents in the La Nkwantena municipality. After years of operation, the hospital's output has been recognized by the Farm Access Foundation under its Safe Care Assessment Program. The assessment, which focuses on the quality of health facilities, said the Pentecost Hospital has met level 4 out of the 5 levels of its internationally approved standards. In a presentation on Tuesday, the country director of the foundation, Mr. Maxwell Entry, lauded the hospital's management for its sterling output.
It's good that people have insurance card, but what if they end up in a hospital and they come out worse of it? And we all have instances where people go to hospital and they come out complaining. So it's not enough to grant access. What is the quality of the access? And that is why our focus on quality improvement is key. And globally, safe care is recognized as international standards for measuring quality globally.
Receiving the recognition on behalf of the hospital, the chairman of the Pentecost Church, Apostle Eric Nyamiche, explained the rationale behind the church's decision to build hospitals and other health facilities, adding that the church has plans for more of such initiatives.
When God called me, He gave me a message. The message is to possess the nation, that is to influence society. And so from the day one, we have not distanced ourselves from the society. I think that the relevance of the church, apart from going to heaven, is the impact it makes on society. Yeah, and it's holistic. Yeah, because we are here talking about health, that is why we are leaning to health. Otherwise, every sphere of the society we want to influence. And then when we are talking about health, of course, the first unity that we have actually strengthened, we are talking about life. Yeah, because you can't talk about people going to farm when they are all sick.
Reacting to the recognition by Safe Care, the director at the Pentecost Hospital, Reverend Dr. Edward Akokrantin, also expressed his happiness and thanked Safe Care for the honor extended to the hospital.
So even before this Safe Care program started, there are already other several peer review systems. So as a healthcare facility, we must be accountable. And we feel that this CHAG Safe Care Quality Improvement Program is one of the best things we can ever be part of, because it is so comprehensive. It's an international standard. And CHAG is demonstrating so much commitment towards helping all the network facilities to improve. So we here at Pentecost Hospital, we are committed to being part of this CHAG Safe Care Quality Improvement Program. And we will continue because we feel it's a powerful tool to help us improve upon whatever we do here.
Senior Medical Officer at the facility, Dr. Ama Ajimandria, also highlighted the benefits the hospital has derived from its partnership with Farm Access.
It's quite a good program, very comprehensive, like I said. We have other peer review programs like Safe Care in the past that with Ghana Health Service and that kind of thing. But Safe Care came with a different dimension, and it's very comprehensive, very detailed, and up to the point.
Head of Medical Services at the hospital, Dr. Philip Sapon, also had this to say.
For me, it's a good achievement for us. It shows that at least we are improving on our systems, and we may have to leverage on that to see how we could improve to even get to the highest level of level 5. But it also encourages us to do more to get to the highest level.
The assessment by Safe Care will go a long way to boost the hospital's reputation and profile in the health services delivery industry. This is because, according to the Farm Access Country Director, the Safe Care program under the Farm Access Foundation is internationally recognized by the United Nations International Society for Quality. Apart from the Pentecost Hospital at Medina, other facilities under CHAG have also attained level 4 of the Farm Access Self-Care. They include the St. Francis Xavier Hospital at Sinfosu, the Holy Family Hospital in Techiman, and the St. Joseph Hospital in Inkwanta. For JoyNews, Pakwesi Shandoff.
Now, the Hajj Board has led a team to inspect the multipurpose terminal at Tamale International Airport ahead of the airlifting of some 1,736 pilgrims from Tamale to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. The first flight departs on Monday, June 20. The new terminal is to enhance the departure and also formalities that pilgrims will have to go through ahead of the Hajj. There's more in this report.
The team inspected the check-in area and the departure area and other facilities at the terminal. Speaking to the media after the inspection, a member of the Hajj Board, Farouk Hamza, said they were satisfied with the work done so far at the facility.
I think we are here today together with the stakeholders in the aviation space to ascertain for ourselves the state of readiness of the new Hajj terminal, or the multipurpose terminal that has just been constructed by government here at the Tamale International Airport. And indeed, we are impressed with what we have seen. We are convinced that the place is very much ready for the Hajj operations this year. Our focus is on the multi-purpose terminal because the main airport itself is still under construction. It's not ready for use. But the multi-purpose terminal or the Hajj terminal is actually what we are going to use for the operations this year, early next week. And to that extent, that one is ready, very much ready. What I do remember is that they talked about the lighting situation out front, and that has been taken on board by the
open space.
Yes.
It wasn't too good in terms of security. People could move.
Well, I think we are doing this in conjunction with all the security agencies. So I don't see much of an issue there. If it is the fact that the place is open or is exposed, it is not new. Hajj terminals, even in Saudi, are very much open in the same way. So it is not a big issue. As long as the integrity of the place is, assured, pilgrims will go through the check-in, get to the sterile area without interference by non-travelers, then it is very much okay to go.
He said even though the facility is designed to accommodate up to 800 people at a time, only 350 seats are available for now, adding that adjustments will be made to accommodate the rest of the pilgrims.
The area that we looked at has enough capacity to take up to 800 passengers at a time, except that the seating arrangement made presently is for 350 passengers. So we are going to augment the seats with more seats to be able to take care of the extra 80 or so passengers, because our flight capacity is about 433 per flight.
Chairman of the Hajj Agents Union, Alhaji Al-Hassan Zakaria, said even though there were few challenges, he believes it will not hinder the progress of work.
For what we have seen is satisfaction. We can manage it for the meantime. We can use the facility for the meantime. Even though there are some patches of things that have to go, but we can use it. It's just a minor patches. Electrician, sealing cars, and then so forth. It doesn't go to the main things that can affect the movement of the Hajjis. Well, new things, such it has challenges, but we will go with it. I mean, there are people who are to go around with them and show them what to do and not to do. So I think we are within
And the Accra-bound end of the Tema motorway has been open to vehicular traffic a little over 24 hours since the final work on the bridge was done. The opening came off early Friday morning in fulfillment of an earlier promise by the Ghana Highways Authority to the effect that they would ease traffic on that stretch, which has frustrated commuters plying the route. JoyNews' Michael Papanieshale has been interacting with the highway engineer working on that project.
Actually, like you rightly said, one component of the deck got distressed, and which will result in collapsing. And so we find it prudent to quickly come in to put in an intervention. And that's exactly what we have done.
Great. So let me ask about the concrete. Now that's the conversation right now. That is it fully cured? Can we trust it to last just as long as what people call the Kwame Nkrumah motorway?
Yeah, I mean basically concrete undergoes the curing process, and it can be hastened. And that's the hastening process by adding an additive. And then the additive is what we've added to allow the curing process to hasten. And so yesterday we took what we call the cube, a portion of a sample to the lab, which has been crushed, and it's overwhelming with the strength that was achieved. It just went over the anticipated strength. We wanted 40 and it's over 60. And so we are happy that yes, what we have on the ground is okay. And apart from that, we have to increase the reinforcement. Past it was 12 mm reinforcement that was used, but now we have to go 16. And then the spacing, we have to reduce it. And then increase, all the engineering, we put in all the necessary engineering features that will allow it to last for the minimum of 50 years. So what we are seeing now, and then the curing process, the strengthening, is a process. It doesn't end. once water goes into it, concrete is happy when it gets water. I mean, to allow the hydration. You see, it dehydrates when it doesn't get the water. So once it's getting the water, it means the hydration process is going. But after 28 days, the hydration process the strengthening is insignificant. So once we have been able to bring the 28 days to 24 hours, it means what strength gain that we'll be getting now is insignificant. Because we are over 99% strength gain, which for us, it is okay to open to traffic.
Great. So ordinarily, concrete work without any additive would have taken somewhere 28 days.
Yeah, 21 days, but 28 days to fully harden. That's achieving the full strength.
But you've done that in, say, 48 hours?
Yes.
Because you added...
It's 24 hours.
24 hours, because you added some special components to it.
Yes, exactly. But of course, it comes with cost. And we have to do the cost-benefit analysis, looking at the burning of fuel, I mean, the time wasting, man-hour, and all that. So we quickly had to discuss with the minister, who agreed that, look, go ahead. And then with his support, we've been able to achieve this. And so a lot have to go to the government for allowing us to go the engineering way. What we always advise is that the engineers are to work. Then you will see that things will go on in the country.
Now, I come to ask whether we are entitled, and I see some works are still being done around the bridge. But in 2014, I know the same bridge, the same portion of it was earmarked for renovation works. We saw a different method used. I mean, explain to me how different, or how come 8 years down the line, we are working on the same bridge with taxpayers' money?
Yeah, like you rightly said, we have to get value for money. It's not every project that once proposed has to come into being. And you have to look at your pests and look at the conditions. Past governments have gone through a lot of negotiations. Concrete is very, very expensive. It is about 10 times the cost of what we do ordinarily with the bitumen. We call it the rigid pavement. And depending on the thickness that you are going, and then the loading effect. So it comes with a lot of cost. So now, because at the time we were anticipating that we will get a good negotiation to go through, and so why would you like to do something like this, which will take a very long time, and then we put in all the necessary costs. So we came in with an improvised one, which is equally good, by putting the steel deck, which we did.
In a related development, the supervising engineer on site, Zero Nana and Polsa, said the next rehabilitation work will include the patching of potholes on that stretch.
Maintenance is a process. Maintenance is a process. We've been doing it. That's the main reason why it's out of the checks that we did, I realized that this one is having a serious defect. So we've been doing it. Just that when the lifespan of it, you have everything have a lifespan. When it reaches its lifespan, you have no option, but you continue to maintain. So we can finish this bridge, and in the next day, another one will show up. So we are praying that the minister promise of, I guess, we are going to have a source cutting for the reconstruction of the motorway. So that's what we are praying, that we will do that, so that at the end of the day, everybody can go and sleep.
But once we wait for it, the potholes that are developing on portions of the motorway are quite dangerous, and potholes that can cause a lot of death if care is not taken. Yeah. Why aren't we filling them to make them quite motorable? Because this is a motorway, for Christ's sake.
Yeah, currently, as I said, it's about 60 years. It's about 60 years. So the moment the lifespan reaches or elapses, this development will come. Now we cannot close the bridge at one side and do the patching at the same time. Then it means that the whole place will come to a halt. So what we are doing is, let's tackle the most serious one first. Our mobile maintenance units are on standby for the potholes. So that one will be done immediately after we have finished this one.
So there will be pothole filling after this one?
Pothole patching, yeah, after this one.
And that's an assurance?
We have a mobile unit who are in charge of such things, and our chief executive have given to them, have instructed them to do that work. So that one will also be done after this bridge.
And on Monday, we'll bring you the latest of our Total Recall series that focuses on the Men's Gold story, nearly 3 years since the prosecution of its founder, Nana Appiah Mensah, commenced. Customers continue to bear the brunt of not having access to their locked-up funds. Here's what to expect.
In July 2019, state prosecutors filed charges including defrauding by false pretenses against CEO of the defunct company, Nana Appiah Mensah, aka Nam1. This was after he had returned from the United Arab Emirates, where he had been in custody for months.
To assist us make full recovery of the amount owed Men's Gold by Horizon Royal Diamond in Dubai, as an act of good faith, we are willing to engage the Attorney General's office on the best possible way for them to aid Men's Gold by employing international law and diplomatic relations to ensure we achieve this objective. 2, to unfreeze our companies and my personal bank account and asset for us to utilize these as vehicles to get productive in order to meet our liabilities, owed to our customers and some business associates in our bid to resolve our liabilities immediately.
Nearly 3 years on, monies invested by the thousands remain outstanding. His prosecution has not even reached the level of a single witness testifying. The case has seen more than 15 adjournments, with prosecutors constantly asking for more. Stephen Abuaji's hope keeps deteriorating. He's one person whose life will never be the same.
A friend told me about it, that this what has come to the system, that thing is very fine, so I should put myself into it to help me. Even the car that is using at the workplace is the same Men's Gold money, so I should try my best and do like 6 months and see what will happen. And then I go to my bank. I invested at Commercial and then Access Bank, so I went there to withdraw all my money there, and then I drew to go and buy the gold chips to Men's Gold.
I mean, were you not worried about whether this is a company that you could trust, whether it is registered? Were you not worried about all those issues?
I'm I'm somebody that I used to do more investigations, but what touches my heart that I put my money is the time that the guy was helping GFA, and then he was conniving with the president. You know, I see everything was genuinely. That's the motive purpose that I invested in Men's Gold.
Well, and you should be on the lookout for that next week. But for now, that's all we have for you here on The Pulse. I am Blessed Sogah. Log on to myjoyonline.com for updates on our stories. Next is Let's Talk Showbiz, but that will happen after this break.